your now, that's what's important. We experience a collapse in our life structure most of the time because we fail to funeralize failed yesterdays. You have to be strong enough basically to realize you can elevate out of your current situation. Instead of looking at where you think you should be by now, look at where you have grown out of. There are many individuals who need help with their blueprint, and I want to be that vessel, nothing special, just that mouthpiece to inspire you to construct the best version of your life that you can be. Welcome to the Like Structuring with Eric podcast. I am your host, Eric. Welcome to the show. Do me a favor. You know how we start off every week. Take that index finger and hit that share button and share this podcast out with your friends and family and all those amazing people that's in your circle. Take the time and hit that share button. Hopefully everyone's Monday has been a blessed day. Um, I forget that it may not be Monday in some parts of the world. It may be Tuesday because doing my research here in the past couple of weeks, I see that I've been blessed to have people watching from all around the world. So I guess I should say good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world at this hour. Thank you for tapping in. Thank you for the continuous weekly donations that you guys have been given via Cash App. Uh, I'm blessed for those donations that you're giving. Those donations definitely help me keep this podcast afloat. You know, we use a platform that distribute our audio to a lot of different platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, and quite a bit more. So yeah, those Cash App donations that you have been sending over, it definitely help us pay those monthly tabs that help us stay planted on those platforms, as well as helping us advertise and market, to keep on keeping my voice afloat and having it to push through the airways. So yeah, definitely thank you for that. Make sure you stay tuned in. At the end of this podcast, we will be announcing the winner of the raffle for the breast cancer awareness giveaway that we're doing. We have the pink crown that we named Shiro because every breast cancer survivor, she is an amazing hero in all of our eyes. So yeah, we named her Shiro. So yeah, basically stay tapped in. We will be doing that giveaway at the end of this podcast. Um, I was kind of going back and forth on what I wanted to talk about today. And last week we kind of talked about, the broken man, which is basically a huge muted conversation because we have, a lot of men in the world that's broken from some things that happened in their past and they never really have opened up about it. They have never really talked about it. And that's why they still are walking around, you know, basically in a broken state. But one of the things that I'm very, very pleased about, it did my heart really good, was pretty much within 24 to 48 hours after that episode last week that Mike Brown and myself did, I had a couple of brothers that reached out to me and gave me feedback. But more than anything, that episode basically helped these men see some things that they have been going through, and they really for years had no idea why they were doing some of the things that they were doing. And it was basically because they had something that happened in their teenage years, and they have been walking around for all of these years basically finding a way to mend that empty spot that was left in their heart. But thank God for blessing me to voice that episode last week, and it basically gave these men, you know, the determination to push forward and to go back and rescue that teenage person that basically got, that was broken. So that was good to hear. And so basically I had this little thing that I wanted to read, and I was like, hey, this would be the perfect thing to kind of read because, ever since last week, there's been quite a few people that's been, reaching out to me, giving me feedback, and seemed like all of it pretty much, every conversation pretty much just came around full circle to these people, male and female, feeling like they just wasn't good enough for the purpose that they know that they should be living out. They just felt like they weren't enough, they aren't enough, they aren't good enough, and the enemy is feeding them all of these lies that makes them feel that they don't have what it takes to walk out, that journey that God has showed them what's at the end of that destination if they're just willing to be determined and walk it out. So I kind of went back in my book, and because it reminded me of one of my chapters that I talk about the reframing phase. That's basically the title of it. And it's basically when you basically realize that everything around you have been demolished. Your entire life has been demolished, and you start to rebuild your life, off that foundation with Christ. Basically, once you lay that foundation, when you when you go past a construction site and you see them, they level out the ground, then they build that foundation, and then what's the next thing that you see them do? They start to frame it. So that is why I named this chapter the framing phase. And basically, it just says if you commit to be the metal that God is going to use, you must magnetize your fear and make purpose your magnet. You must first demolish that this is just the way that I am mindset. Once I came to realize that a greater me was being birthed out of the ashes of the firestorm that God had brought me through, I became determined to no longer take my life for granted. From the moment that I decided that I wanted to change, I was able to think about how I wanted my life to count. I made a decision that I would not lay in the ruins of the bad decisions that I had made in the past. I committed to grab a hammer and pound at the new framework of life one day at a time. God has great and mighty plans for us, and the enemy wants wants to derail those plans. He will do whatever it takes to knock us down and distract us. So it's also important that we stay connected to someone that knows our walk and will stand in agreement to hold us accountable. Victory requires preparation, and you will win again. So basically, as I stated, most of these people that I talked to, they just felt like they basically, were at a in a place at life that they're basically failing, and they just feel like everything that they are doing just doesn't matter, and that they are not good enough, and I had to remind these people, if God chose you and he spoke to you and he planted it on the inside of you, who are you listening to? Are you listening to what God spoke to you? Because if he spoke it to you, he sees it in you. So he has faith that you can walk it out. He did not say that the road would be easy, but he planted it in you because he feels that, well, no, I'm not going to say he feels, he knows and he's confident that you have the power to walk it out. And a lot of times, it that road can get very, very discouraging, very discouraging. And what we fail to realize is the enemy, he waits until he see that you're stagnant, because if you're on that road of determination and you're just determined day in and day out to push through and stay on the mark, he doesn't have time to get into your mindset and to speak into you. But soon as he see you pretty much pause and he feel like you're stagnant, you're a little confused, you basically are beating yourself up, you're having one of those, why is this happening to me moments, that's his moment right there to jump in and try to convince you that it's not worth what you're pushing out. It's not worth it. Man, why are you even doing all of this? Nope. Like for me, sometimes I'm doing my podcast and I look, and it might not be nobody watching, but I'm gonna give it my all, just like I have 1,000 people watching, because I know what God planted on the inside of me. And that's the same thing with you. Whatever it is that you may be doing, you may feel like, well, it's not even worth it. You know, I'm creating these shirts, or whatever it is that I'm doing, and nobody is buying anything, or I'm using my voice, or I put in for this position and they didn't take me. Just because they didn't take you that one time, maybe God felt that you weren't ready for that position. But if God told you to put in for it, don't stop. Keep putting in for that position, because if he gave it to you, if he planted it on the inside of your mindset, then it's meant for you to get that position. Same thing, but a lot of times what happens is we make a move before he speaks to us. So that's where we get hung up at. If he speaks it to you, go for it. But sometimes it's us pushing before he speaks to us, you know. And why is it when we go ahead of him, that's when we think we're good enough for it. We don't care who we hurt or what we do to get what we want. We're just going to do it. And God is sitting there like, okay, I'm just going to sit here until they fall on their face, and then maybe they'll sit still long enough to hear me. But at the same time, when the enemy speaks to you on something that you know that you heard God's voice on, that's when we're like, I knew this. Yeah, this is a waste of time. I'm not going to do this. No, you are doing exactly what the enemy wants you to do. You're doing exactly what the enemy wants you to do. And to go back to the podcast that I did last week talking about the broken man, one of the things that the enemy wants the man to do, especially a man that's in a great home, he's a great father to his kids, he's a provider, he does everything he can to be that good husband, and not saying that we're the best of the best, but we're putting forth effort. We don't mind reaching out to other men that we see that's, you know, pushing this fatherhood thing out and asked them, man, I'm scrambling with this. Those are the men that the enemy wants to stay muted. He don't want you to reach out and ask for help. So when these brothers reached out to me after they listened to that podcast and they started to share some things with me that that podcast erected on the inside of them. And as they started to look back and do their inventory, they was like, whoa, this is what has kept me, out here chasing women for all of these years. This is what had me drinking and drugging, and I keep stopping and I'm trying to get it right. I didn't want to drink and drug no more, but I wasn't getting to the root of the problem. So that is why every time I thought about that person that hurt me, every time I thought about that father that was never there for me, and I'm scrambling to be a father, that's why that bottle was my comfort. But they were able to go and do a little inventory and figure out what it was that had been pushing them to that point. And I'm like, it was just a great feel good moment for me because, as I stated, the enemy, women, you ladies, you would get together and, girl, this is what I've been had going on. And you would really encourage each other and push each other. But men, on the other hand, you might tell a man your problems, but he's going to sit there like, oh, for real? Man, that's bad. They never going to let you in. And a lot of times they're dealing with something even worse than you. But, you know, as I said in this first paragraph, if you commit to be the metal that God is going to use, you have to learn to demagnetize your fear and make purpose your magnet. And basically, when you make purpose your magnet, what comes next? You have to realize that God has great and mighty plans for you, but you can never forget that the enemy wants to derail those plans. But as long as you stay connected to someone who knows what you're going through, have been through it before, and they are eager to hold your hand and help you through it, then you will not fail. You will not fail, and you will never have the reason to think that you're not good enough and what you're doing is not worth it, because you are worth it. What you're doing, you are good enough. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for pushing to be that person, you know, and it's it gets me because a lot of people will look at you, they'll look at me, and they hear us talk, and they'll say, well, it's easy for you. It's easy for you. No, it's not. Because once upon a time, I was that person that you are now. I was lost in the world, had no clue which way to turn. Everything around me had demolished. But as I stated in that first paragraph, I realized that I was ready to do any and everything that I possibly could to rebuild my life. And I knew as long as I had God as my foundation and kept him as my foundation, then I could reframe a life and basically rebuild a life, as long as I employed some powerful workers to help me build it. And I connected with people that were able to help show me that, help me because I had harmed everything. So yeah, I wanted to rebuild my life, but I needed to connect with some people that could help me put together a blueprint that I could build off of. I had harmed everything: credit, relationships, forgot how to love, didn't love myself, was unhealthy, you name it, unemployed, burned bridges. So I needed to connect with someone that could help me put a blueprint together. First of all, a blueprint to realize, that I had to learn to love myself first before I could love anybody else. So me learning to love myself came from me putting God as my foundation, learning to love Him and have faith that He would erect me back to the place that, you know, to get me back on my mark. And as I started to do that, I started to find that value in myself. And I started to realize that my life mattered. I started to realize, hey, I am enough. And one of the things that you have to realize once you start to speak that affirmation into yourself that you are enough, because a lot of things that get a lot of people discouraged when you tell yourself that you are enough and you look at it as what you're doing does matter. You cannot let people talk down on you because someone else will look at the life that you're building and they will basically say just a few words to make you feel like you're a piece of crap. And, well, I remember when you did this. Well, I remember when you did that. That does not matter. God forgave me for my past. So I don't care if you don't or not, you know. And for me, I never forget my past because my past is part of my foundation that I pour into others that I come across when I'm helping them build a life. So, it helps give them strength because I'm always sharing with people where I once was so they can realize, well, wow, if God did it for him, then he can do it for me. And and for the most part, most of the people that I'm pouring into, their life is nowhere near screwed up as mine was. So, I try to just speak into them like, hey, you didn't do this. I did this, 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 and this. What you just shared with me, if God forgave me for mine, look, yours is just a little pat on the back, because as I stated, he resurrected me from the dead pretty much. So you just need a pat on the back. So, I just want to, just come on, dissect that chapter a little bit and just speaking to anyone that has been beating themselves up here, lately, just kind of letting the enemy find just because the enemy, just like the double dutch when they swinging the rope and the girls they just be doing like that, trying to figure out what they're going to jump in at. That's what the enemy is doing. That's what the enemy is doing. When he see your life spinning and that rope get a little slow, and the enemy is just standing there just like this, just trying to wait to jump. When he see you getting stagnant, that's when he jump right in. When he just feel like you're about to give up, your focus is off, and he jumps in and he just tries to dissect you. Hey, you're not good enough. Why are you doing that? Why are you going to school? You're 55. Why are you going to school? You know, hey, you- you're not going to lose no weight. Why are you working out? You're not going to lose no weight. Why are you dieting? You know, you tell yourself, I'm not going to buy any more clothes because I'm going to lose this weight and fit in these. And the enemy is saying, you better buy some bigger clothes because you ain't gonna lose no weight and those are fitting tight. You have to tell him, shut up and get out of my head because I am who I am and I am who God said I am and I am good enough. I am going to lose this weight. I am going to finish school. I am going to run this marathon. I am going to run this 10K. Whatever it is that you said, I am going to pass this test. Whatever it is, you have to convince yourself because a lot of times it's just going to be you. But I guarantee you, if you just have some quiet time and block everything out. Most of the people, my life builders, if you're part of the life structure fam, most of you know how to talk to God. You know when to hear God. So I challenge you on this evening. If the devil have been challenging you, speaking to you, telling you that you are not enough, you're a failure, it's not going to work, to quit, I challenge you to block him out, seek God, get you some quiet time, block everything out, leave the cell phone in another room, turn the TV off, get in one of the most quietest, isolated places that you can get in and just cry out to God. And if God already has planted it inside you, he's going to confirm once again that you are doing exactly what he wants you to do. And I promise you, because I've seen it for my own self. A lot of times when you go back to be for to get reconfirmed and he see how determined you are, he'll speed that thing up for you. He'll speed it up for you. So yeah, I just challenge you to seek him on it and remember you are enough. You are enough. And as I stated, I just want you to know if nobody have told you today, if nobody told you last week, if nobody have told you in the past few months, because what you have been doing, it have kind of went unnoticed, I am proud of you. I'm proud of you. So, yeah, if it's something that you're doing and you feel like you're out there all by yourself, if you want to send me an email and kind of share it with me, if you want to send me an email and want to set up a one-on-one Zoom and chat it out with me, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to set up a one-on-one with you. Hey, I'm in the midst of getting certified as a life coach, but I'm not there yet. So hey, you can be practice from me and I can give you some great feedback. I'm not, this is not a pitch for you to reach out to me. And then I say, well, hey, I'll be happy to connect with you. I have a going rate right now for $399. This is no type of pitch. If you want to connect with me, shoot me an email and I would be happy to connect with you. Uh, and just we can chat it out. I'll do all I can to pour into you. And look, a lot of times I'm trying to pour into people, and you guys give me some strength as well. So, yeah, definitely. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I seen some new people in my chat section this evening. So thank you, all of my newbies. Thank you for tapping in today. I definitely appreciate you. Please come back next week. And I would love to hear some feedback from you. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. I'm talking to you and I'm trying to pull up this little wheel thingy so we can do the giveaway for this little hat thingy. But real quick, let me, just in case somebody wants my email address, let me plug this in here just in case you want to send me an email. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. So email is scrolling across the bottom there. If you want to send an email, wrong one. If you want to send an email, you can basically send it to that info@mylifestruction.com. Definitely. And yeah, here we go. Let's see. So for the giveaway, You win this baby right here. It's a breast cancer awareness theme. So yeah, has a little boxing glove on this side. The boxing glove actually says, I have plenty of fight left in me. Has a little cross pearls here and another little small boxing glove. So congratulations, Kim. You can send me your information and we will get it shipped out to you. Ah, it was no volume. Uh-oh. Sorry. I'm not sure if Kim was watching or not. But I have her email from when she entered the raffle, so I'll reach out to her if she wasn't watching. But yeah, once again, you guys, as I stated in that spiel that we did, you have to remember that you are enough and have to be aware that when you're doing something that God has planted on the inside of you and he's looking for you to carry out, that is when the enemy will be the most, you will be his number one target. It's like a red dot. A red dot goes right on your back. You becomes his number one target, once you start seeking to walk out your purpose. So just remember that you are enough and God is proud of you for walking it out, and so am I. So, with that being said, once again, make sure that you share this podcast out to any friends, family that you know of that may be struggling with pushing out their purpose, struggling with thinking that they are good enough, and a lot of times it comes in the form of someone that just went through something drastic. You're bouncing back from addiction, you went through a divorce, you lost a loved one, someone that was very close to you, you lost a job, and as I stated at the beginning of this podcast, you're stuck on the why me syndrome. God, why did you choose me? So then once you start to bounce back, you feel like you are not good enough. So yeah, I just challenge you to dig deep down on the inside and find that foundation. Make sure that Christ is the whole entire portion, the whole entire covering of your foundation, and push it out, because that's basically where it starts at your foundation. Yep. So with that being said, thank you guys for tapping in. Make sure that you're tapping in on Wednesdays and Fridays. We have the 180 positivity plug. It's live at 5 a.m. Um, Arizona time. That's 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you're not up, you can always tap in later and watch it. But it's only 3 minutes. That's why we call it the 180 Positivity Plug. 180 seconds of pure motivation, something to push and get your day started. So make sure you're tapping in for that. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, iHeart, make sure that you subscribe so you get that notification every time a new episode has been loaded. Feel free to send us emails if you have some topics you would like to hear me dissect, or if you know of some guests that may be a perfect fit to come on here until they have a bounce back story of something that they went through and they bounce back better. Feel free to send us, an email, or have them send us an email, because I'm always looking for guests that can come on and, just basically share their story about something that they went through and they bounce back better. So, yeah, with that being said, you guys have an amazing rest of your week. And As I stated, remember, you are enough, you do matter, and I am proud of you. Till next time, stay blessed, life builders, and take care of yourself. Keep building. Love you.